Hi, I'm Orville Maxon. I'm here on August 29th, 2023, and I'm going to interview David Francois, an Army veteran, on behalf of Bellevue University as part of the Nebraska Vietnam Veterans Memorial Foundation service. So, having said that, let's begin the interview. So let's start talking about you a little bit, David, and see if we can find out a little bit about you. Could you tell us where you were born and where you lived, where your home was?
I was born in Nebraska.
Okay.
At the time, my parents lived in Omaha. My father worked for Union Pacific Railroad. So I was born in 1946. My father was discharged in January of 46. Lived there a couple years off in 61st and Pinckney, north of Ames Avenue. Couple years, lived there a couple years. Then we moved to a farm south of Nebraska area near the town of Paul, between Paul, Talmadge, and Julia. We were half a mile from my grandparents, George and Elizabeth Francois. My dad worked for Talmadge Co-op, and he drove a tanker truck. My first sister was born in 1950. Right after that, we moved to Wichita, Kansas. We loaded all our possessions in a farm truck, headed out at nighttime to avoid the weigh stations. Moved into a farmhouse down by Derby, Kansas. My dad worked with Boyne. My sister was there, my mother, my father. My uncle Speed Acre Coghill lived with us. He was working there at that time too. First couple of years we lived there, I watched B-47s take off. Because Boeing Aircraft and McDonnell Air Force Base were joined together. We had to move around 1953 because the runway was being expanded for the B-52s. My father built a house. My father built a house on Southern Street, 48th Street, south of Wichita, off in Seneca Road. Started school there. Had a sister born in 54, another sister born in 57. My parents had a house built, a brand new house built in 1955. We moved in late April 55, and by middle of June, we had temporary duty with Boeing Aircraft to McDillon Air Force Base, Tampa, Florida. My mother says this house will not be rented to nobody. We'll close this house up. We're only supposed to be there for 90 days or less. Packed my two sisters up, my mother, my father, and myself, and what we could get in the trunk of a 53 Plymouth and headed for Tampa. By the 15th of August, we were back in Nebraska. Had a sister, my last sister was born in 57. During this time in Hayesville, my parents said I had to go to parochial school, Catholic school. Rode a bus. I left the house in the morning before my father got home after my father. So the kids I played around with, I didn't have much to do with because they went to the public school. And the kids that went to the Catholic school were maybe 6-7 blocks away. A lot of times my dad would be on temporary duty, and I would be there trying to help my mother run the house. My mother didn't drive. February 1958, we took a temporary duty to Fairchild Air Force Base, Spokane, Washington. Loaded our family up in a 58 Rammer station wagon. Most of our possessions were put in a boat on a trailer with our bachelor friend Grant Lewis, and we The two cars headed for Spokane. I enjoyed it up there. Lived at 2 different houses up there, but we came back in April of 1960. By June of 1960, we moved back to Nebraska. My dad bought a Western auto store, and I lived there until 1965. In 1965, I started attending Peru State College. Graduated from Syracuse High School in 1965, May of '65. My parents lived in Lincoln in the year of 1966 and fall. Summer '66, they moved to Omaha. But I didn't claim Omaha. I didn't claim Lincoln because I was a college kid trying to get on my own. I quit school in January of '68 and drafted in I was getting my draft notice in April of '68. During this time, the place I worked at, this lady, he said, her husband was an Army recruiter. I went to talk to him. He said, you got to find a career field because if not, you're going to be infantry or artillery. And he gave me some suggestions: avionics or aircraft electrician. Signed up for 2 avionics courses and an aircraft electrician course. Took a physical, and they pulled me out of the ranks, and I needed to go to St. Joseph Hospital. Did an EKG on me, did me an interview. Said I had a heart murmur and a large heart. So I let the chips fall where they are, and within about 3 weeks I got my draft notice. Meanwhile, the Army says, we'll take you. So mid-April of '68, I reported at the induction center in Omaha. That afternoon, we were flying to Minneapolis Airport. From there, we went into SeaTac, Seattle Tacoma Airport. Got on the bus, went to Fort Lewis for basic. Then we'll go from here. Keep going.
If you wish.
Okay, got there. I mean, we got there. I got draft. We went in on a Friday afternoon, Saturday morning. I mean, we rode that bus all over Fort Lewis before they dropped us off to the induction center there. I think by the time we got to our barracks, it was like 4 in the morning. 7 o'clock, the drill sergeants come running and screaming, hollering, and complaining. By 8 o'clock, our hair was cut, and we would start being measured for uniforms. One week of basic marching, detail, taking another battery of tests. Went to our 8-week assignment. Barracks was a pre-World War II, 2-story wooden barracks. Spinal meningitis was going on strong at that time, so I was on a top bunk on the north side of the room, and on the north side of the building, the bottom level of the window was open. On the south side of the building, the top part of the window was halfway down. Every place we went to, went inside to a place, we had to leave one place vacant. We couldn't have direct contact with other people because of the spinal meningitis going on so strong. Never seen so much rain in my life at that time, I thought. Got done with basic. Given 2-week leave. Got travel pay to report to Fort Gordon, Georgia. Reported there around the July 3rd in 1968. on a Friday afternoon. Got there late, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was probably 95 degrees, and humidity was probably 95%. I thought it was hot. Next morning, the guys got in after later and I did, had to stay out in a tent. So I think probably Monday morning we were given barracks to go to. Got put on a bus and we went clear across Fort Gordon to go to avionics school. My two instructors were a Spec 4 6XS as in Samuel, Y as in Yankee, R as in Romeo. The other guy was a Spec 4 Tate, because these people will come back in my life later on. Within the first 2 weeks, we took a test. First one was a paper test, probably 20 questions of different types of questions and answers. And then we did a mock-up of a PE, how we set up a radio, how you run a radio, how you intermit the radio amongst themselves. I was one of the last ones to take the PE part of the test. And one of these little console deals was, had a little button. You push down on a button to bring the other radio online. But you bring it back up, you can monitor two radios at the same time. I was going for this test. I pushed this button down when I was supposed to do, and brought it back up. I pushed it back up. The guy pushed the instructor, specialist 4 class tape, pushed it down. I pushed it back up and I held it up. He said, "Why are you holding the radio up?" I says, "Page 17, bottom question says, if you hold this button up in an upright position, you can monitor two radios at one time." I was the only one in the class of 27 that did that. Got 100 on my PE test. Got a 92 on the written test. So all of a sudden, I'm number one student.
Nice.
I maintained that the whole 18-week course. Got out at E4, had orders to go to Vietnam, but during this time there was another avionics, especially it was called avionics mechanic, which means I was a flight line technician. I'm out on the flight line replacing black boxes, chasing all the wiring in between all this stuff. The second course was called avionics mechanic supervisor. I put in for this course. It says you'll be hand chosen. Well, being on a graduate, I was one of the first ones to get in the course.
Nice.
So 9 of us went together, a combination of three different. The class was every 2 weeks. There was a class at 8 o'clock in the morning with the one I went to, and there was one also at 3 in the afternoon. I was called 27D because I started the 27th month of that year. That was D. The class in the evening was called 27 November. The people from the 25th class, the 27th and 29th, the top 9 people.
That's awesome.
When we graduated, only 8 of us graduated. The other guy must have worked out somehow, I don't know what. But no, basically, 12-week course. We went over there. I had to wait 3 weeks for the course to take an effect, so they sent us back to the old school. So they made us instructors, temporary. We were assistant instructors. So then we went this course, and it was right across the road from our barracks. We had to go to different barracks, and it was all classroom instruction, except for about 3 weeks when we were out in the field. They told us how to. We had to defend this compound. They raided us at nighttime. We had to react. They monitored us how we had to react to it. So got done with that course. But when I started this course, we went there on a Thursday morning, and the guy said, "Well, you aren't supposed to be till Friday." I said, "Well, we went there Thursday." So at 3 o'clock, they called a formation down the day room. He said, "All right, you hucklebucks, you're supposed to be here tomorrow morning, but since you want to be here tomorrow morning, We have a formation at 7 o'clock. I was an E2 at that time, private. Tomorrow morning, everybody will be at E4. You'll have stripes on your shirt as E4. If not, you can go back to where you came from. So I jumped rank. So for 12 weeks, well, we had 2 weeks off for Christmas. During that time, we played our Mickey Mouse games. You know, we're supposed to be NCOs when we get done with this course. I graduated in February of '68, E5, 10-month service. Didn't have nothing to do. Went back to the old course again. Walked in. Oh, E5. Guess what? You go back to that. Remember that classroom you were in the first 4 weeks? You go back there. I went in there. There's Spec 4 Tate sitting there. I said, "Where's Spec 5-6?" Because he got promoted to 5 during this time. He's back to Vietnam. He said, I said, "What do we do?" He says, Tate said, "I'm teaching the first class at 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock you're teaching in that class and you're in charge. If anything screws up, it's your back." And I said, "Thanks a lot." So I did this for 3 weeks. I could, if I played a car race, I could have stayed there to the rest of my enlistment, but our unit got, the guys I was with, we got orders to go to Vietnam. So basically around the 15th of March, being in Fort Gordon since July, I'm heading back home for a 4-week leave, ordered to go to Vietnam. I supposed to report on a Sunday afternoon at Oakland Army Depot, but I took a couple of days early, and Thursday I went out to Los Angeles because I had 3 uncles and aunts, and a couple of cousins living out there. Spent some time with them. My one cousin Johnny was about a month older than I was. He just got out of the Air Force at 4-year enlistment in Germany. And one day I remember, I think it was Friday, we went to Disneyland. That night, 2 of my uncles took me to Los Angeles or Anaheim Angel game. Had a couple of beers and a hot dog. So that Sunday morning, my Uncle John and Aunt Betty drove me to LAX. and I got on a Pacific. It's called a PSA airline at the time, owned by Hardee's. You got on the aircraft. They didn't have ticket takers enough. You bought this ticket and they came on flight. They picked up the tickets like they did in the old trains. I flew directly into Oakland. A lot of these guys were flying into San Francisco, and they're taking helicopters back into Oakland to get dropped. Went to Oakland. I remember driving this cab from the airport to the Army Depot. We went past the Oakland Coliseum, which was brand new, home of the Oakland Athletics and the Oakland Raiders, and that was supposed to be the baseball field or the special sports arena now, and they're still in effect, but now it's nothing was with today's standards what the other ballparks look like. Got there Sunday, Sunday afternoon. By Monday they put us in lockdown because when you go in lockdown, you go into this one unit, and that's your flight. You're all with these people. So Tuesday morning sometime we got on buses and headed for Travis Air Force Base. Probably left 3-4 in the afternoon. First stop was Honolulu Airport. Got there about the time of dusk. Looking at where I was at, I could look out and I could see Diamond Head. The back of the sun was portrayed in the outline of Diamond that was there. The plane I rode on was Continental Airlines DC stretch out DC-8. 3 across seating, no TV, no movies, no nothing. I mean, you just stayed in this little spot and entertained yourself. Probably on the ground 2-3 hours. Most of us head for the bar. Cook off, dark. We flew all the way to Philippines, Clark Air Force Base. Probably got there at 1-2 o'clock in the morning. Went across the international date line. We're now Thursday morning. Wednesday's gone. Got there, probably spent 2 or 3 hours packing that jet full of the JP4. So I said, well, okay, we're probably an hour out from Vietnam. We've got 15 minutes out of the flight. They open to turn on the lights on. We signed all this paperwork. 15 minutes before we got into, I know when we got into Vietnam, because they put that thing right near the ground, and that thing was going back and forth like a zigzag. Somebody said there was, you have 4 Phantoms on our wingtips. Landed in Benoit Air Force Base. Dark. They says, all right, all you new guys, head over to the right and get on the bleachers. Right behind your bunkers. And the guys on the other side there of the taxiway were getting on our planes, and everyone simulating artillery bars and stuff. And waited around, got on a bus, just like the bus we had in the station. This time there were, I call it chicken wires over the windows. Most of the windows were gone because probably glass that were broken, or you didn't need windows. It was hot. It was probably 95 degrees and 99% humidity. Had this stench in the air, like, don't ask me what it was, but it smelled. I said, well, this must be Vietnam. I think we rode 10, 15 miles to Long Binh. We were in the second bus, and we were like going 45 miles an hour, like 10 feet apart from each other. Went for some Vietnam village, and they were still up. Lights were on. Got there, GIs everywhere. Did our orientation, this and that, this and that, this and that. 12 o'clock they had a formation. Called off names, and I met this guy before I got on the plane, and it was his second tour, E5. So I'm hanging on to this guy, because I figured, well, you know, I'm not going to get in any trouble because he knows what's going on. And I said, I think the guy, they called my name. He says, what are they going to do to you? You're already numb. He said, if you really mess up, you go to sake, but I don't think they're going to send you to sake for messing up, for not hearing your name called. So he says, just hang around for a while. So we were in a barracks in the middle of the afternoon. He went across the road and brought back a 6-pack of beer. 3 was there. We had a couple of beers, and finally, about 2 o'clock, they came in. They said, all right, you fives, you guys got to do head count tonight. So they took us to where the mess hall was at, and I was supposed to be there and do head count. But anyway, at 3 o'clock, they had another formation. They call off names. I said, I got to go this time. I think that's me. And so I walked up there and asked, what's the spelling of the name you're trying to pronounce it? I said, yeah, that's me. He said, well, go down and report to post number 9. There was telephone post about 4 feet off the ground, and number 9 on it. So I stood there, and there was nobody else around. Pretty soon there's people coming back and up toward to me and stuff, and so then this guy comes up. Funny thing, when you get in the country, E4s and below are in one area. E5s and E6 were in this area, so we're over here, because E4s and those guys, I think they were filling sandbags, and we were over here just mind their own business. E7s and above, the officers are always, they were sitting over in the country club because they were over there. They had decks and they had umbrellas under tables. But anyway, so I'm staying. This senior NCO came over and says, the rankingest guy is in charge. I had about 9 guys around me, and I'm looking around and I said, no, I'm the guy. He says, well, somebody screwed up. He said, somebody was supposed to leave at 12 o'clock. Somebody's got a hot MOS. Somebody's got to be up north. Should have been there by now. I said, I'm not saying anything. I'm looking at them and look at me. Probably it was me, you know. But so he said, you guys hear him, go over to the mess hall and tell him you got to eat and come back 45 minutes. So we went over to the same mess hall I was supposed to do a head count on. We came back, he says, all right, go over here to this building and go in the basement and put these, they give us numbers and put these on your bed because the plane's coming in anytime. You guys can't leave. Well, after about 2 hours, I snuck across the street and came back with a couple 6-packs of beer and a couple Coca-Colas and a couple decks of cards, and we played cards. Woke up in the morning, no one woke us up. So they said, go over here, follow those guys, and next thing you know, we were all getting on a C-130. The problem is we weren't sitting in slingshot seats, we were sitting on the floor, on the pallets, with our duffel bags and the rest of our field equipment. Flew all day. We went to play coop at all the different places. We got to Chulai, most of the people got off. I'm saying, well, I know I'm going to Nanang. I don't know what happened after that. So I looked around and some of the guys I went to AIT with were sitting up in the front. And I call them the slingback seats. So we all moved up there because there was more room up there. And they said, where are you going? I said, I think I'm going to 212 in Da Nang. The other guy said, yeah, I'm going there too. So we probably got there 2 o'clock, Da Nang. It was an old brick building, long, narrow, had round columns like the French, Spanish type style building. A lot of Vietnamese sitting on this sidewalk there undercover, some outside. A lot of them are cooking their meals and it stunk, you know. Well, everything else stunk too, so what the heck. So I went there and these other guys, I said, I got four guys left. I'm supposed to go to 212 and the other guys with me, and I went to AIT, said, yeah, I think there's 5 more. We're all going to 212. So finally a due snap came by and we loaded us up and went to Marble Mountain. And I was happy when I got over there because there was helicopters and there was airplanes. Well, fine, good. I'm supposed to be aviation, fine, this is aviation. Get in there and there was, I think about 9-10 guys. And we went in this orderly room. They said, what's your MOS? And we named off the room. I says, 35 kilos, avionics. You guys come in first. So they says, they picked the 3 of us, and I went in first because of my being an F. The other guy was a V, and the other guy was an H. Interviewed us. What type of education we had, what type of background, what type of grades we had. And I said beforehand, we asked, well, are we all staying there? I says, no. We got one aviation unit in Chulai, we got 3 here in Marble Mountain, we got 3 in Phubai. I said, how far south is Phubai? And they says, no, it's north. I said, I heard about Phubai, but the one I really heard about was Chulai. I definitely didn't want to go to Chulai. Talked to the light colonel, battalion commander, and he says, well, I think you're going to stay in, I think you'll stay in Da Nang. I said, what's the other two? He says, two stay in Da Nang and one goes to Phu Bai. He said, it goes to Corps. Gonna find out if he had 3 people and the guy with the short stick got sent to Phu Bai. Because they want to keep all the good guys in Da Nang. Well, when I got my orders, I'm going to Phu Bai. So I said, well, fine. So I have 3 other guys going with me to Phu Bai next morning. One of the guys that I met in Long Beach before I got on the bus back to Benoit was a guy by the name of Tom Reed. He was from Louisiana, married, his wife was pregnant with a child. And he said he was a loach mechanic. And I said, what's a loach? He said, it's an OA-6. I said, airplane is an observation plane. It looks like a flying egg. And I said, well, fine, I don't know what they are, but I'll find out about it. Because I said, I'll be doing the radios on them. Because when I went to Signal Corps School, being aviation trained, we didn't work on aircraft. The only time I worked on aircraft when I was in that second course and we went down to Savannah, Georgia, we did 2 weeks of on-hand training. We knew these radios, but where were they at in the aircraft? How were they connected to the aircraft and this and that? We went down there, first 3 days we were there, we were assigned to a Hewlett company, but these guys weren't doing anything. They were standing around. But we found out there was a Cobra unit that they were training people for the 081 attack helicopters. We went out there and they went out there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, to 3 to midnight. Because these guys were flying all the time because they went with all these Cobra pilots. So I said, I'll find out what an 086 is. I'll find out where the radios are at. So we flew up. So we stayed over the first night, Thursday night. No, that was Friday night. Saturday morning, we went over to this building, and he said the aircraft will kick us. We'll get an aircraft kick into Phu Bai. So I went into one room, and one guy was a Marine avionics tech. Going back to the States, just going back to California, was going back to southern part of LA. And I said, what type of avionics he did? He said he was a benchman. He had looked like an attaché case, and inside was all these little pliers, little fine screwdrivers. And I said, well, I guess I'm replacing you somehow. One avionics guy's leaving, I'm coming in. So we got on, they put us on a CH-47 Chinook. We stopped at 3 LZs on the way up. And these guys getting off, they're dirty, sweat, hot. You know, they probably smell like sweat, but everything smelled like. I wish none of my grandkids or people under me ever come across this. Just stunk. I smelled the whole year over there. So we finally landed in Phu Bai Airport, which is a South Vietnamese airline would fly into that. Yep. They service the city of Hue, which is 15 miles away, the very city of Hue. But it was across, about 2 miles away was the base camp called Phu Bai, which is the nearby village was called Phu Bai. And one of the guys he was going to the 220th. And the guy said, you can just walk right over there. It's right over there. Where's that? It was a bird dog unit. He was a company clerk. And Reed and I waited around, and pretty soon a Jeep took us from Cookers to 62nd. They call us the Corps Aviation. What this company 1 year before started up as a Corps, which means they picked up the stuff that nobody else from the different aviation company and formed an aviation company. And about the first month, by the time I was over there, it was converted to the 62nd Aviation Company. We're all coachman. So anyway, we waited, and this Jeep came. And we threw our duffel bags in the back of the Jeep, and I just jumped in the back of the Jeep and put Reed in the front seat. And we drove probably a half mile south to 62nd Aviation Company. It says, 62nd, welcome, 60th Aviation, Royal Coachman, Master of the Trade. So he drove us through the different compounds, where the orderly room's at, where the mess hall is at, where was applied places at. We went up there by the armory, and this guy stopped us. He says, "Where's your guys' MOSs?" You know, and the Reed was probably like a 67 November. He said, "Oh, you're one of those airplane jockeys. You're a mechanic." And he asked me, he said, "What's yours?" I said, 35 kilos. He said, "What the heck's that?" I says, "Avionics." He said, "What's that?" I says, "I'm working on the radios." Those air jockeys can't figure out. He said, "Well, I'm looking for my replacement." You know, I said, "Well, how long you got left?" He said, "Less than 60 days." I said. So I got to meet him, and finally I got into they sent me down to the commo section. I said, "Why am I sitting in commo with avionics?" So anyway, they kept me up to a barracks, and there was no room for me, so they put me in with the aircraft maintenance guys. Finally, probably I was there 3 or 4 hours. I met the avionics tech. He says, "We'll eat at 5:30. We'll go out the flight line. Follow me, because I'm leaving within a week." I said, "Oh, good, fine." So we're out there, and his impression was to wait till all the aircraft come in, then check the logbooks, and then go back and bring radios out and repair everything. By Tuesday, I can't find them. I'm in charge. Our CO was a Major William Priest. I don't know where he was from, but First Sergeant was E7 by name of Talk. My NCO was a Staff Sergeant Harding, some black gentleman from Alabama or Mississippi. And I think Sergeant Harding finally approached me Tuesday and says, "Fine, I'm glad to see you here." He said, "We'll put you back in the main with the rest of the guys when Gardner, this guy that I'm supposed to replace with his leave, we'll get you there." But he says, "I don't know what you're doing. I have no idea. I'm a field radio man. Avionics, I've never been in an aviation unit. You guys are crazy. They go out and beat these aircraft up all day long. They work on them all night. They put them back up the next day." He says, "That's not the way that's not the Army I'm used to." I said, "I'll just do what I can do." Within a week, Major Priest called me in the office. He says, "How's it going?" I said, "I could use some help." He said, "We'll get you help when we can find them, but you guys, I don't know what you guys, we can't find you guys." And I said, "We're putting out 2 class at 25 to 30 every other week, and I don't know what's going on with these guys. I know no one knows what we're doing, but yeah, we're an important job. If you can't do a radio check in the morning, the aircraft doesn't take off. The last thing they do is a radio check, and man, if you don't want a red X in an aircraft due to the avionics problem." He said, "What's the status of the company?" I said, "You want to know the truth, sir? It's crap. The guys I'm working with over there, they don't like me. Well, one thing, I'm more ranked than they are. They don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what they're doing. I should be over on the aircraft maintenance side. He said, well, that's not the way it goes anymore. This is the way it's going. I said, I said, I've been to the supervisor course. I need 4 FM radios for the amount of aircraft we have. I need 2 control heads, FM control heads. I need at least 3 UHF RT units. I need at least one the unit was so depleted. I said, there's only probably 3 or 4 days supply of replacement parts for helmets. If the pilot's going to be coming here for repair our helmets, we need the front screens clear and the sunglass ones. I said, he says, you know how to order parts? I said, yes. Tomorrow morning you get done with practice, come up here. So I went up there and I talked to a captain. I think he was probably the XO, and another guy from the supply company, and we started ordering parts. We ordered parts through Core Aviation, which was still in effect. We also ordered parts through 62nd Aviation. I signed everything. Come to find out that when I ordered equipment, that I was a number 2. I said, what's number 1? Special Forces. He said, I bet you're getting 80% what you ordered. I ordered doubled and everything. I got probably 60% what I ordered. So within 2 months, I had all my radios, my RT units. I had ample antennas. I mean, I had probably 50 front shields for helmets, clear, and also the green tender ones. I had earphones. I mean, we would get 2 to 3 helmets every night. Pilots would come in and says, fix them. And I had a couple. Eventually, I was in charge of all these guys. I don't know what they were doing. They didn't know what I was doing, but as long as we were putting those birds back up in the morning, I was happy, and the guys under me were happy. So I was supposed to do a week of in-country training outside the perimeter. Major Priest said, you're not going. You're too valuable sitting in here right now. He said, I can't believe that somebody like you could come in and start running the show. He sent a letter to my parents saying, no. What an asset I was to the company. And he said, how did you get out of Da Nang? I said, well, your prayers were answered. Because by all rights, I think I was supposed to stay there. But anyway, so I was there trying to keep everything going. Every morning I had to set up crypto. We had 3 aircraft, and the back was behind the pilot, and between the pilot and the long bench seat was a center console. Consisted of 3 FM radios, 3 KY28 crypto units, 1 control panel to run the whole thing, and then there was 3 FM control heads and 3 KY28 control heads. My crypto place was a old trailer, old semi trailer that I had to go up about 6 steps to and unlock the door, go inside, and go halfway inside and open up another locked door and go up, and there was 2 safes. I had two crypto guns. I had this sheet that I had it folded out pretty long. I had to get a yardstick, and for that day I had to pull this crypto deal out and set these different pins. And I'm telling them, I says, I'm setting it, but I don't know if I'm right. They said, well, check it. I said, well, if I check it in here, if it's contaminated, the whole thing's contaminated. I need to turn on that FM and make sure the FM works, and then go down into the crypto mode and make sure that they're on the same page I am on. Oh, don't worry about it. We'll worry about it. Well, one morning they said, you're not online. So I don't know if it's the unit I'm with or if the whole system was down, but it was the unit I was calling from, it was the radio. But I had no way of knowing it. So anyway, I was doing that and then stayed around during the day in case any aircraft came in, we replaced it. But when everything came in at night, you had to go through all the logbooks. And you got done when you got done. About 3 weeks in its training, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to change a KY-20. I hated changing those things. It weighed like 40 pounds. You had to open up the left door. You had to lay down on the floor, reach between the pillows, the foot pillows of the aircraft, reach down in there and kick out. Disconnect it. You had 3 connection deals. Loose the mounting deals, and you had to hold on to that thing to pull it out and bring it over. Because this thing was a modification deal, and they put it up by the FM, but they put it inside that, I call it the glass, the fishbowl plexiglass. It was a real monster to put in and out. Well, one night I said about 3 o'clock in the morning, I pulled that thing out and I dropped it right through that fishbowl plexiglass. So Hardy told me if I had any problems, then don't contact him. So the guy I went up to knock on his door and woke him up, and it was a Captain Ron Cross. I says, I just had an accident. He said, what'd you do? And I said, I dropped KY-28 for the fishbowl. So he came out, and he looked at it, and he said, what happened? I said, I probably had it, in the last 3 days I had 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Because I got to play all these games in the afternoon, doing this other stuff, plus, I'm the only guy out here. Well, you're going, no, somebody's coming. I said, yeah, I know somebody's coming someday, someplace. I hope he knows what he's doing. But anyway, so I Red X an aircraft. April 69, the aircraft didn't fly because I Red X'd it. Well, within a couple of days later, it was on a Saturday afternoon. There's one of our planes went into the side of an LZ. I said, what number? It was a 265. I said, 265. That's one of our general's planes. Of these three planes we flew, one of them was the commander of I Corps, a 3-star general. Another one was the commander of 101 Airborne, was a 2-star general, and the other one was a Marine general, 2-star. So these are the 3 guys we flew. We supported the 24th Corps. 24th Corps was in charge of all the artillery around the DMZ and around the Laotian border, from Da Nang all the way up to the DMZ and over to the ocean. So this aircraft crashed in the side of an LZ. That means the command console is in the back of that aircraft. That means tomorrow morning somebody's got to go out and get that command console. The crew chief was a guy by the name of Don Burrell. I thank his shirt because he brought back all the FMs and the KY-28s for me that night. And when he came in, he was a muddy mess. His door gunner was a muddy mess. He had all these radios, and they were mud and wet. And I'm saying, well, fine, I'll kick him into maintenance. And so pretty soon they come up to me and says, somebody's got to go out tomorrow and pull that console out of that aircraft. He says, you're in charge, but get some volunteers. I went back to the barracks and I said, I need 2 or 3 volunteers. Guy says, where's the aircraft? I said, some valley out there called begins with a A. Guy said, you talking about the Ashaw Valley? And I said, yeah, that's the place. This E4 was a guy named Steve Wagoski or something like that. Some police guy from South Detroit. He thought he was in charge of the place. Him and I butt heads from day one. He says, none of us going out. You're it. Find somebody else to go out with you. I don't know anybody. So that morning, that afternoon, it was about probably 11 o'clock. Got on this aircraft. Major Priest was flying to the left seat, and had to be another officer, not a warrant officer, another officer was in the right seat. Door gunner and crew chief, and some other guy, and I took my toolkit with me to go out to pick up this center console. I'm saying most of the weight's gone because all my radios are out of it. So we fly into I don't know the name of the fire base. Neither does Don Burrell. We talked to each other since then. We don't know what fire base it was, but it was an Arvin, which was a South Vietnamese fire base, 105 fire base. But when we flew in, it was an LZ. So flew the Huey in. They dropped me off. I had my N16 with me and my toolbox, and so I'm messing around. The Huey's still there. I went down beyond the green line over the perimeter, and there's the aircraft. It just slammed right inside of the LZ because he was trying to glide scope into the LZ, and the aircraft took small arm fire probably within a half hour before that. And so Burrell said he was putting in transmission fluid, hydraulic fluid in the aircraft. He said he knew he had a severe leak. They were going to probably leave the aircraft during the LZ that night, and with the have another helicopter take the 3-star back in. But anyway, I don't know how they all got back to Phu Bai that night, but here I am, and I'm walking around the other side of the aircraft and shaking to make sure it doesn't fall off to the side of the hill. I had 2 other guys, I don't know who they were. I get inside and the aircraft starts tipping. So we go back and we get some rope tied onto a tree to keep it, so when we get inside we don't keep that aircraft from rolling down the hill. I had it out within about 5 minutes, but then we had to drag it up the hill, up the LZ. And I asked somebody, I says, "What? Do you want to take the antennas off?" Because I had one antenna down below the bottom of the aircraft and 2 on the side, on the what do you call it? The skids, on the skids. No, the aircraft's coming back, and we'll probably fix it, and we don't have to need to take anything else off. So okay. So by the time I get back on the top of the hill, the Huey's kicking off. I said, "That's fine and welcoming here." If I look over and there's Major Priest, so I'm fine. My command console's here, I'm here, Priest is over here. Somebody's got to come back to Priest, somebody's going to come back and get me. So what happened was, the reason why the Huey took off, they converted the LZ into a fire base. They bring all these 105s out and put them in a half circle, and they start shooting the thing off for 45 minutes or something like that. There was some, it must have been maybe a captain, maybe a major or light colonel, American advisor there, and he's explaining it to Priest what they're doing, and I'm over here by myself over in the trees because I don't want to know what's going on. Finally, we get back to Phu Bai. And I knew I put my M16 on the seat before I put this radio in. Okay, I had to put this, me and 2 other people, I put this radio in, we had to anchor it back onto the floor. Get back to Phu Bai, can't find my M16. But I got my radio, I got myself. So that night that evening I had to go back out on a flight line to do all my regular work, but lucky thing was Sunday, very few people work on Sunday. So Monday morning they said, what happened? I said, I know I left my weapon on there. Well, anyway, somebody went back to LZ and they found my weapon. Somebody had stolen it and they found it in a bunker. So, well, probably a week later or so, I got a guy to help me out by the name of Samuel Simon, Italian kid from Philadelphia, South Philly. He was in probably longer than I was, but he was sitting in Fort Hood for about 6 months, kind of working on Cobras, but he didn't do any work. I said, he came in probably at 2 o'clock, and I woke him up about 5. I said, we're gonna go eat, and I said, we'll go out on the flight line. He had no idea what the heck to do. I said, have you ever worked on any avionics? So we said, no, none of those aircraft flew. We sit around and played Army. I said, well, let's go out and look, follow me and we'll look at the logbooks. Well, you didn't know how to read a logbook. So we trained them how to read a logbook, okay, the radio don't work, let's do a radio check, find out why it's not working. Majority of the time, most of the time was the FM, because it's the ones that use it the most in flight. Most of the time was the RT, swap out the RT, hope you got enough for the next day. Anyway, but so I got him, so he was, but about the time I got him trained, he had to go out to a week of field duty. So then he came back and I had to retrain him again. Then about a month later, it said, we got a guy coming. Got an avionics guy coming. I waited 3 weeks for him. I said, what the hell happened? He says, we were hit for 21 days straight at Marble Mountain. I said, you mean incoming? He said, yeah. I said, well, congratulations, because I don't know what incoming is. I don't know what the sound of it is. When they had incoming coming in at Marble Mountain, these guys went to bunker and they stayed there till morning, and they couldn't fly out because they wanted to make sure they had all these people accounted for. So then this guy he knew less than Simon did. Larkin, Daniel Larkin, big, I call him a Swede, probably 6'4", about 275 pounds. I hate to say it, but the way he talked and if he could perform the way he talked, he could have been the best person around. He had no idea what was going on, didn't want to know what's going on. So him and I butted heads a few times. One night, we had replaced our RT, and I told him, put it in. I watched it. He jammed it in. We went to do the radio check. It wouldn't work. So we pulled it out, put another RT on. Still not working. So I pulled it out and looked back, and in the back there was a probably ½ inch wide, about 3 inches long was 100 connection in fiberglass. When he jammed it in, he smashed the whole thing. I go, oh. He said, what's wrong? I said, look back there. I says, this thing's Red X. I says, somebody's got to replace all those wires. I got the component for it. I got schematics of where everything goes, but so we went back to the commo unit, commo hooch. Talked to the guys, and I said, well, there's another aircraft Red X. He said, what's happened? I says, the back end, all those connections. I said, smashed. She said, you got to replace a part? I said, yeah, I got to replace a part. How many soldering irons? I got 3 soldering irons. I said, got a schematic. Let's move the aircraft over by the maintenance area. You get close enough to a extension cord and we'll try to replace it tonight. 7 of us worked all night long to get this thing together. Move all those little pins and put the new one in. I'm sitting there calling off the wire numbers as to what pin to go to. Reason why we would all use all 3 soldering irons, because once the soldering got too hot, it quit, so we set it aside. By 4 o'clock we had it up, FM running, so we're non-red X, and the plane flew, and they never had a problem after that. They found out what we did, and they says, "What? That was supposed to go to Red Beach, our supply depot." And I says, "Well, we fixed it. Thank you." But anyway, right after I got Larkin in, they put me on CQ, company quarters, for the night. So anyway, they said, "Here's the coffee pot, and here's the coffee machine, and the telephones there, field radios there." So I'm sitting in the first sergeant's desk, and he said, "Over here along the wall is a switch, and that's the siren in case we get hit." I said, "Incoming." I said, "So what?" So about 11 o'clock, things are starting to wind down. Things are getting quiet. People are starting going to bed, and things. Pretty soon I heard this strange noise. What the heck is this? So he said, "Hit that siren." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "That's incoming." I said, "What?" So I hit the siren, and about that time, here comes E7 talking. "Come on! Close those filing cabinets over there and lock them up. Come with me." So on the way, we walked across the little parade field. We went down into a bunker, and Major Priest was there. We're down in this bunker. I didn't know this bunker existed. And a bunch of switchboards and a bunch of other stuff's in there. They're trying to call out somewhere. We're not getting any communication. Pretty soon they got on a field radio that called Marble Mountain to tell them that we got hit with incoming. I said, "What?" I said, "That thing, you use a field radio?" I said, that could be intercepted. Some BMAs could intercept that thing and switch that wire, because you can't control them. But anyway, they tried that, and we couldn't get hold of the name. Probably after about 3 hours, they went back up to my duty station and made coffee in the morning. Got heading for the mess hall, and I got somebody from flight operations said, "You got 2 Hueys out there, the Red X." What? Can't find my guys. I says, so I went up to operations, found out what numbers they were. Cryptos are up for the day. Somebody done the crypto. So that was done. Went out there, bad FM, and another one had some other small problem. Went back to the commo hoops and picked up the FM and picked up the air radio within 15 minutes or back up. Well, to operations, everything's A1, back on site. Met Sergeant Hardy, and he says, "Go back, go get some sleep." So probably about 4 o'clock, I looked for those guys. I said, "Where you guys at last night?" Larkin said, "Once you get hit, you stay in the bunker all night long." I said, "I don't think it is that way here." I said, "I think once you get it all clear, you can go back on the flight line and finish your job." Meanwhile, Sergeant Harding gets called back to the States because his grandmother or somebody died. Guess who's in charge of everybody? Me. But with two ABNS guys, I don't know what the heck they're doing. So anyway, pretty soon, Steve Wachowski, whatever his name, and his buddy Doug Pilot, which was from Louisiana, they kick off to the States. And I said, fine. Don't have to deal with these guys. By then, I'm getting replacements, so they were used to my training, my method of doing things. And they said, you're going to be at 36 kilo. And I said, what the heck's a 36 kilo? I said, that's a radio NCYC of field radios and commo chief. And I says, no, I'm a 35 kilo. I'm avionics. And I said, avionics is more important than radios. I said, I'm not going to be in charge of 9 guys and try to run the avionics, keep crypto up. I says, no. And finally I got another E6 to come in and help me out, but you know, well, after this incident that happened, what happened was when we got hit that night, they shot a rocket in towards our compound. It would have run right into where most of our Hues were at, but they were probably about 75 yards short. But their trajectory was spot on. But right after this incident, priest said, "I'm leaving, and we're gonna get a new major." And he says, "You're excluded of duty, and your butt's staying in Fubai right here. You're not going to R&R. You're not going anywhere because you don't have much. We need you here." I said, "Fine." So every so often I sent Larkin out on the perimeter line. Simon was running this guard duty, which we tried to run 2 guys on, 1 guy off. Tried to do it, but a lot of times it didn't happen. Most of the time, I mean, there was days I never saw the bed. We lived inside of a hooch, 8-man hooch. I had a bed there. I had 3 meals a day. They also at midnight would have I call it like a deli. They bring out cold cuts, cookies, and things like that. I did that once or twice. Mainly if I was out up at midnight, I'd just go in there and get a glass of iced tea and a cookie. But, you know, duty-wise, I mean, security-wise, yeah. So one night we were on a flight line and this guy walked past and I yelled at him. Didn't answer me. I yelled again and took off running. Couldn't find out it was a Vietnamese that had infiltrated. It was walking on our flight line. Somebody somebody on the flight line had a 38 with him. Shot it up in there. It was a warning shot. The guy kept running. So he went to shoot him in the leg, and he shot him in the back. You know. I mean, you had to be on guard all the time. And then nighttime, I'm glad I worked nights because, you know, that's when they would hit us with incoming or try and you know, they overrun our compound, our green line one night right in front of us. We had to go to the bunker that night. So basically that's about. Had good meals. Most of the guys were supportive. I went to an Army reunion in '09. A bunch of Vietnam veterans. It was a real healing complex because I didn't recognize the faces or the bodies, but the voices. Working at night and the flight line, you recognize voice. During the time I was over there being a VIP unit, I think it was August that year. Miss America came in about 7 or princes, or what you call them, pageants. They flew in our aircraft. We flew them around I-Corps. Christmas, I saw the Christmas show of Bob Hope, and Christmas Day, early morning, around 10 o'clock at Camp Eagle. I got up at 5 in that morning, did my crypto stuff, and went down to the next unit over at 132nd Aviation, and we jumped on a deuce and a half, and we went to Camp Eagle they had like a little outdoor area, and most of the Bob Hope was out on a aircraft carrier 5 miles out in the sea. Our unit would fly the people in and out, back and forth. I'm trying to think of one of the other things that happened over there. But anyway, another time, we had these always 6s, and eventually they were replaced by the 0858s, the Jet Rangers. Pilots complained about it because the 0856s were much bigger. Removable aircraft could get into smaller, tighter LZs. So I had to learn the new 58s. 58s had a new generation FM. And I knew about the FM radios from my second course in Fort Gordon. And I was getting these manuals and stuff, but I wasn't getting the parts for it. So one night I was sitting there about 10 o'clock, went back down to Kalamazoo, because Christmas, one of my guys, his name was Jim Christmas, he was a black guy from South Carolina, he was married, nice guy. He was running a switchboard, and he didn't like being there by himself, so I went down there and I was looking at this new FM radio, studying the information on it, and then fixing the control head. I mean, not control head, but one of the pilot's helmets. All of a sudden, kaboom, incoming. I unplugged it, that started, and I took off running as fast as I could up to our bunker, because our bunker was one of the few bunkers that were underground. And I was counting the Christmas trees, the little pine trees. And I was going 1, 2, and I took a turn, and I'm saying, no, it's 3. So I pulled myself back out and went back up and went back in, and went into our bunker. Christmas was right behind me, bloody in the face. And I said, what happened? He said, what'd you run over that pine tree for? I said, I didn't run over it. I said, I went around it. He said, no, you went over it. He realized you had to go back to the next one. I understand. He said, I didn't know a white man could run that fast. but anyways, a few stories. And one of the other guys that was in our unit was Tim Bell. And the reason why he was there, because he was from Detroit, and he was a misfit. And he was there because of Steve from Detroit. Eventually Bill got himself in trouble, and he did his 3 years when he got discharged in E1, because he couldn't stay away from the women, he couldn't stay away from the drugs and the alcohol. I told him I wasn't responsible for him, but anyway, but on the whole, most of the guys are pretty supportive. So I'm glad I did it.
So how did things go for you when you got back to the States?
Oh, well, March 31st, Monday morning. We went down to Cameron Bay on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. We walked in that place, and how come everybody's sleeping on the ground? We can't get anywhere. Well, there was no barracks. There was all these people. Didn't have no room to nobody, because we slept on the ground for Friday nights, Saturday nights, Monday morning. Our plane took off. And the stewardess says, we've been this plane's been sitting on the ground for 2 hours. I think it was about 5:30 that morning. Still dark. It was a Seaboard airline, stretched DC-8. Got on the plane, and it was probably 7 degrees, and we thought we were freezing. You know, we flew by. We got 100 inches of rain that year we there. One 24-hour period one time we got 26 inches. It's constant rain. It rained for 27 hours. We got around 29 inches in 27 hours. But anyway, so, you know, we had monsoon. We thought we were freezing to death. One of the guys, when I first got there, was going to sell me an electric heater for $5, and I just laughed in his face. I was like, you're a joke. I wish I had that electric heater for about 3 weeks, because, man, when monsoon came, it was cold, and we couldn't fly, and everybody thought amongst themselves. But anyway, got on this plane. We flew to Lakota Air Force Base, Japan. Sat on the ground for 3 hours, packing that sucker with fuel. Flew up from Lakota Air Force Base all into McCord Air Force Base. Landed probably 6:30 the same day, Monday morning. I've been flying for 14 hours or so, or more. And got on the bus. We went back to Fort Lewis. And got our uniforms, got debriefed and this and that. A bunch of us said, let's get a cab, get out of here. I think there was 3 in the back, and I was in the front seat. And it was probably around 10:30. I told the cab driver, I said, get me there before noon, because I think there's a flight taking off for 12:30 for Denver. You know, so we ride in that cab, and you come in from SeaTac, you come in, you're heading north, you come around that corner, go south, and man, the hippies, oh my God, Christmas. You know, I opened the front door, and I probably had knocked a couple over because I slammed the door open, he had the trunk open, picked up my duffel bag, couple orders, just threw them on the ground. If it hit somebody, it hit somebody. I just grabbed it sideways and run into the terminal. They were inside the terminal too. And we went up to United. Two other guys were with me. They were going towards Chicago. I said, I'm going on the United, and I'm going from Denver. The plane went from Denver to Chicago to someplace else. We got there, and I says, I want a one way to Omaha by way of Denver. No problem. We don't know about your bags, and I said, I don't care about my bags. Just get me on this plane, get me away from all these weirdos around here. So we got on this plane, 3 of us. We sit there halfway back where the emergency exits are at. 2 abreast, and the other guys behind us, and they asked us if we wanted. Didn't realize this was a cocktail flight or a champagne flight. Says, you guys want steak or lobster? We said, we want nothing. He said, well, here's a steak and share a lobster. The worst thing is eating that lobster. But anyway, I got to Denver. Day before was Easter Sunday. Denver was closed due to the weather. People, this place was just packed. Went up to the little United airline, and I says, I found my duffel bag and made the flight. I says, I need a one way to Omaha. She said, you just get back? And I said, yeah. Well, put your duffel bag over here, I'll see what I can do for you. And probably had a couple hours out there. I could walk right down the main terminal, and people just split on me. I was like Moses departing the Red Sea. I mean, there was guys from Fort Carlson, there was probably a guy on AIT. They wouldn't talk to me. But I wanted to walk, because I've been sitting on this plane for 14 hours, you know. I need to stretch my legs. I should have just grabbed a magazine and sit in the corner and mind my own business. Went to the bar and sitting there, and I swear I could hear the name Baby Killer. I knew I wasn't welcome there. They did get me on a flight to go to Omaha, first class ticket, a first class place. I sit right there, and first one off the plane. My parents were there, my sisters, aunt and uncle. Monday evening, about 7 o'clock, colder. But anyway, you know, was home for a couple weeks. Lived off the 45th and Decatur. There was a fire station up there off in Military, about 6 blocks away. Well, the fire truck would kick off, and if you go down Decatur Street, he would turn on the siren before you get to Radio Highway. Well, one night I came home and I don't know what heard this siren. Gotta go to the bunker. I'm running around outside under the street light with my skivvies on. My dad sitting there laughing at me. Well, I better straighten my butt out somehow. But how do you? You know, you just. Oh, another thing. Up the street on Military before it turns on Radio Highway was a place called Monkey's Bar. One of the times we went back to Denay. We went by a truck, and one of the guys was invested his money in Chase Manhattan Bank in Monkey Mountain, and I got one of those business cards. And I went to the Monkey Mountain Bar about noon one day, and I presented him that card, and he says, "What do you want?" I said, "Well, give me a Budweiser." He gave me the biggest Budweiser was, and it's just on the house. And the guy down the end of the bar says, "What's this? How come he got a free beer? How come he's got such a red face?" The guy says, "Sam, you keep your mouth shut. I told you, keep your mouth shut." Well, it was a guy where he sold cookies or marshmallows. He was there on his lunch or drinking his lunch. Didn't realize that this was a Vietnam veteran and he better keep his mouth shut. Anyway, I said, if you don't keep your mouth shut, I'm kicking you outside. And the guy who owned the bar says, "No, you're not going to do it. I'm going to kick his butt out of here." Sam, I told you to keep your mouth shut. You know, he didn't tell Sam what the situation was, but I presented him the card and I got a free beer. I says, "Well, I guess I stay away from the bars for the next, I better watch what I do." So for 40, 50 some years, everything was in the closet.
Did you use your GI Bill to go back to school or anything?
Yes, I did. I got an early out. Well, when I got back to the States, I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Oh my gosh. Because I was a 36 kilo. And they're going to put me in an artillery unit. I said, "What do you do here?" I said, "Twice a month we go out for twice a week, 2 times a month for a week we go out in the field." I said, "No, I'm not." "You're not." I said, "I belong in on a cot or a bed undercover. I should be working in an air conditioning unit. I've never seen an air conditioner. I mean, my equipment is designed to stay in air conditioning." "What are you?" And I told you, "I'm flying on the flight line." So I had to go all the way back up and all the way back down and get over there. Then we sit over there, we just sit on our butt, watching grass grow paint, right? There's nothing to do. So I got an early out, go back to school. I used that for a couple of years. I was out. I went back in January '71, but August of '72 I had my Bachelor of Science. Try to fit in society.
What was your degree
Thank God for General Schwarzenegger going over there, kicking butt and kicking names. He put the military on the map. Before that, you didn't say you were military. And I'm hoping it never happens again. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I'm just. I feel sorry for the people that have to do it.
What do you miss most about the military?
Huh?
What do you miss most about the military?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the people. People. Well, I belong to the Vietnam Veterans Association. I joined it about a year ago. Last April. The best bunch of people I've been around. We don't tell stories or nothing, very little, but we all been in the same boat.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't need to talk.
We don't talk. Dogs were treated better than we were. We all been through it. I hope we all been through it, and I hope nobody's in that group lies about it. I hope everybody says they're there where it was there. You know. I just hope we don't do this again. Bad enough going to Afghanistan. When we went to Afghanistan, I says, you know, this is going to be Vietnam all over again. Colin Powell, I think, said the same thing. He got fired from his job. We got to learn. We can't go out and take care of other people's problems that have been going on for thousands and thousands of years. You know, and no one in these countries will take the fortitude to support themselves. They want us to do all their dirty work. I feel bad for these guys that have been there 3, 4, 5 times. And I appreciate anybody that signs up and serves. You know, but I'm glad I did it. And I'm very damn proud of it.
If you had the chance to tell your parents, your siblings, your relatives, your friends something that you don't think you've told them before, what might it be?
Well, my dad never asked me anything. My dad was Army Air Corps, and his main time was in England. He was a glider mechanic, so he didn't get over and he said he got it over there for 2 days over in France and Germany area, but he wasn't. He got shelled on from incoming and stuff. He got harassed by that way, but he didn't serve in combat. He didn't see, these guys in our flight unit, they would go out to these LOZs, and they know that the LOZ got hit that night. They would go out there. They were the first ones on scene. They would find these LOZs totally destroyed. There would be many as 200-300 people killed. And our government says no. These so many people died, and they're this unit and this unit. One night we could lose 200-300 guys in an LZ. It was propaganda. What we did. The whole thing was propaganda. The whole war was propaganda. But we did it. We were proud Americans. We did what our country told us to do. And I just hope, like I said, I hope we don't get bought into something else again,
Well, if some young person came along and I don't know, met you in a bar or in some way and asked your advice on whether to join the military.
I said, if you don't know what the heck you want to do, join the military, because the military will give you the tests. The military will tell you what your specialty is in. It's too bad I waited 22 years of my life to find out I was an expert in electronics. I was good in electronics. I had a big general background in the medical field, and my survival IQ was extremely highly. I mean, we had M14s in basic training, 84 shots, and I hit, I think, 73 out of 84. But the last 5 rounds I didn't shoot off because I didn't want that expert badge. If you want the Vietnam Man expert badge, they might put you in the infantry.
Good thinking.
And that was it. I was lucky that I did the job I did, and I'm glad I did it. And there's people that they thank me. They went out of their way to thank me. They said, "Man, you made our jobs easy." operations and everybody says, you got, I said, I don't know when you slept. He said, you're dedicated. We had an IG inspection. They never saw, they said everything was so first class. I said, well, we're first class. We're flying around journals. We're not no, hate to tell you, AO company. And he's, well, one of our pilots, fixed wing, his name was Gary Sheaves. He was from he was from Battle Creek, Nebraska. He was a captain, fixed wing pilot, U-21. We found out we were from Nebraska. This U-21 had a tack-on problem. Him and I went down to Quinyon one day to fly it down there. On the way back, he gave me the stick, let me run it. He wanted me to go to Thailand with him, and at that time, Captain Max says, "You're not going. You're not going." He says, "I can get pilots, dime a dozen. Avionics guy. They're gold." He said, "I can't figure out how come there weren't more avionics people."
Still recording. Are you still recording?
So, basically,
Do you have anything else you'd like to
I don't
say
know.
before
That's most of it.
wrap this up?
We can wrap up any time, man. I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff I missed, but boy, I'm telling you what,
Well, you were easy to interview.
well, just
You had a story to tell. And
well, it was, and I hope it's exciting tale. I mean, I hope my kids or grandkids or somebody sees this and they see the fortitude. There's some, you get an opportunity to do it, you got to do it and get it done and do it right.
That's a pretty good code to live by.
Huh?
I think that's a good finishing statement if you do.
I do too.
And my kids, I'm very happy with my kids. They're responsible. They all got good jobs.
Good.
Their wives are good. I mean, my grandkids, I'll put them against anybody. One of my granddaughters just started kindergarten, and she has a plaque how old she was and when she started. She wants to be a doctor.
And she probably will be.
She will be. So that's it.
Well, I think with that, we'll wrap this up. And
Yeah, let's do it.
today. I appreciate what you had to say, and thank you for your service, and
Yeah.
more importantly, welcome home.
Well, that's it. I mean, yeah.